Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be looking at Kindle Unlimited and providing some recommendations. So I recently got a new Kindle, and with that new Kindle purchase I got 3 months of KU, and I thought, well, it's free, why not? And there are a lot of things on KU that I didn't realise were on KU, that my perception of KU is probably a little bit one-sided, that I think there's generally quite a lot of thrillers on there. There's a lot of self-published on there and quite a lot of fantasy romance, and that's absolutely fine. Lots of things that I do read within those genres. So there are definitely some not surprises that I found on there, but there are a lot of things that I would recommend that are on there that I was surprised to see on there, and I think other people would also be surprised because I find it's not the easiest system to navigate. That you go onto KU and you get the list of things, but it keeps recommending me the same things. Whichever category I go into, it is always recommending me the same things, the popular things. And actually, there is a lot more on there hiding in the dregs. And that the easiest way to actually find it is if you're searching for that book and then it pops up to say it's on KU. So this is a list of things that are currently on KU as of the 19th of October 2025 on the UK version, because I know that there can be differences between UK, US, other Amazons, but this is the UK one. There are probably some similarities between the different countries, but I do know that there are differences. Some ones that are definitely like as expected. Yeah, there are definitely a few that I own and would recommend. This is a list of ones that I've already read. There are definitely ones that I saw on there that I have not read and that I have on my Kindle ready to go for when I might need a KU recommendation, because I realise quite a lot of my TBR is available on KU, so I could have both the physical and the Kindle version. Anyway, here are the ones that just weren't really surprises, and that's like these originally self-published fantasy romances are all on there still. Some of them I think that are self-published get taken off, and I don't know if these were taken off and then put back on, but these ones are all currently available on KU. So that's Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider, Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rorich, and I think only the first 3 in this series are on KU, not the rest of them. The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, and Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. This one, it recommended to me a lot. It kept recommending me this one. So all of these can be found on KU, and those did not surprise me. They were where I expected them to be. But moving into the list of things that surprised me, and there are quite a few of them, that there's a lot of traditionally published books on there now. So of the surprises, you can find the whole of the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie on KU. All of it, all 3 books are there. So this is a grimdark epic fantasy story. I don't believe like the rest of his books are on there, just this trilogy, but you know, it's a very good start for if you want to get into Joe Abercrombie and test out the grimdark genre, that you have the lot, you have the whole thing. I'll link the video with some of my more full thoughts on it, but I was surprised to see this. But that's not alone in like being an epic fantasy that is available on KU. You can find Magician by Raymond D. Feist, an older classic work of fantasy on there. I think that for this series it is just the first book that's available, but it's a long book, and we're following Pug as he realises that he is a magician and his training and the war between different worlds and the different magics at play. All very classical European medieval fantasy until it's not quite that. But also one of my favourite fantasy authors is available on KU, and that's John Gwynne. Malice is available, and also I'm not sure if the whole series is on there, but Time of Dread, which is the first book in the spin-off trilogy, is available on there as well. So you've got a good amount of Gwyn on there, and this is a series that I absolutely adored when I read it. I think it was 2020, and flew through this whole series. It's a whole cast of characters, and it's a fight between good and evil. At the beginning of the book, one of them is the Black Sun, which is the force for evil, and one of them is the Bright Star, which is the force for good, but you don't know who is who. And these threats are rising with giants and magic, and everything is going to come to a head at some point. Loved it. And a prophecy at play. So Gwyn's on there. Another big fantasy is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So she has recently come out with a new book, Catabasis, but this is her first published book. In this, we're following main character Rin, and it's set during the Opium Wars, or inspired by that, and she is not having a great time in life, but she enters into this academy where she trains, and she will learn of like drug-fueled shamanic powers and threats, and the cost of power is great. One of my all-time favourite series is on there, the David Bad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. So the first 2 books in this series are available on KU, The City of Brass being the first one, and this is an Arabian-inspired fantasy story following the main character Nari, who enters into the magical Jinn city of David Bad when she accidentally summons a Jinn and realises that there's a lot more to the world and a lot more to her than she originally thought. And it's very political, lots of different relationships that are going on as she tries to navigate this new world and the Jinn and the powers that be. One that I am currently reading and working my way through is the Truth Witch series by Susan Dennard. I am rereading this in preparation for the 5th book that's coming out. So I originally read the first 3. I have book 4 waiting on my TBR. I've just finished book 2, so getting there. But books 1 to 3 are available on KU. This is a sort of YA crossover to adult series following a main character, or 2 main characters, Safi and Zult, and they are best of friends, but they end up getting embroiled into a whole political mess when a 20-year truce is coming to an end, and it just gets discovered that Safi is a truth witch, which is a highly coveted magical power, and so all of the empires are after her and Zult. A popular author that has a couple of books on there is Leigh Bardugo. So Leigh Bardugo has Ninth House available on KU, which is a dark academia story following Alex Stern as she enters into Yale, and she is there to investigate, to look into horrific unsolved crimes, and she is tasked with monitoring the secret societies of Yale, and she has quite a harrowing background. So this is on there, but you can also find the Six of Crows duology on there. The rest of her books, the Grishaverse, is not on there, but the Six of Crows duology is. So you can read that and find out about Ketradam and the things going on there with his band of merry thieves, as they go on a heist. You see, there is so much on there. The Boneshard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which is the first in a trilogy. I think it's just the first one in this instance. It's available on there, and this is set on an archipelago where the government takes a shard out of your back of your skull and uses that to fuel these automatons that are then used in powers. But if your shard is in use, then that drains your power, that drains your lifespan. And we're following Lynn, who's the daughter of the Emperor, who has no memories and is trying to figure things out, as well as Jovis, who is a smuggler. Maybe somewhat not so surprising, but Olivia Blake is available on there. So the Alice 6. I know this actually should be in the not surprising, because this was originally self-published. It's a dark academia story following 6 characters as they enter into this Alexandrian society, but knowing that only 5 will be able to continue on into the 2nd year. So I shouldn't actually have been surprised by that one. A couple of things that I don't have physically. So Laini Taylor, the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, but all 3 books in that trilogy are available on that. I have read that one many years ago and I absolutely loved it. It's set in Prague and we're following my character. What is her name? It begins with a K, I'm sure. Karu, maybe? She's able to go through this door and enter into this magical world, and so that whole trilogy is available on there. Otherwise, there are a couple of duologies which fall into, I guess, the romantasy genre, but have never been self-published. They were always traditionally published, such as One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. That duology is available, as well as the For the Wolf duology by Hannah Witten. Both of those books are available. And then finally, Swordcatcher by Carissa Broadbent is also available. This is the start of her adult series, which follows Kel, who is the swordcatcher for the prince of this realm. He is an orphan, but he is used to replace the prince during events where they think that the prince's life is at risk, as well as Lynn, who has magic but is from a people that is looked down upon, and she is training to be a healer, and their paths end up crossing, and it's a very political leading story. So there is a selection of books that I found that were available on KU that I have read and would recommend. I'm sure there are more, because I ended up having to search the book to be able to find that it was on KU or not, and I'm sure there are more, and I'm sure there are things that will be coming and going and changing as they curate their catalogue of books. So it's not going to be a permanent list, it's going to be a list that evolves. Let me know if you have read any of these, and if you have any recommendations or things that you were surprised to find on KU. I do have a good few from my TBR that are on there, but yeah, such as The Invisible Library and Furyborn, they were both available on there. I think there's a handful of other ones that I downloaded that I had on my TBR, but let me know if you can recommend any other ones. And if you have KU, I hope here's a good selection of books that you are able to now get your teeth into that you didn't realise that you had available to you. Or if you don't have it, that there's quite a large selection of here and it may be worth getting it for a little bit. Not at all sponsored by Amazon. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!